I'm Bob Mayne. I carry a gun because I can't carry a cop. Welcome to another episode of the Handgun World Podcast.
I'm hiding in Honduras. I'm a desperate man. Send lawyers, guns, and money. This shit has hit the fan.
Welcome to episode 555, folks. This is a practical show done by a practical guy. That is me. And I want to mention that in studio with me right now, the great Ben Branham.
I don't know if they're great, but I'm here. And
You're here.
We're happy to be here. No on the road stuff. We're actually in your office.
Yeah.
No more Zoom crap. We actually get together. And, you know, the heck with COVID, here we are.
Yeah, here we are. I mean, this is great to have you in studio. So I want to remind everybody this show is sponsored by Keepers Concealment, makers of, I think they're the leading authority, Ben, on appendix inside the waistband. Spencer Keepers, did you attend that class with me at TACCon?
I had a partial class from Spencer, like half an hour class, and I've talked to him a bunch of times. He is super smart and really great at designing holsters.
Yeah, and not only that, he's probably one of the leading authorities on how to train people how to use and draw and shoot from appendix carry. So check it out, keepersconcealment.com. He's also a CCW Safe affiliate.
He's a pretty incredible shooter, too.
Yeah,
so he's got all the things.
Yep, check that out. So you get a discount code, KC10 off, by checking out keepersconcealment.com. So, Ben, I brought you here all the way from your house to mine. Long drive, I think, right?
All of 15 minutes.
About 15 or 16 minutes. Anyway, I brought you here so that we could talk a little bit about constitutional carry. Most people in Texas know, and if you're not in Texas, or even if you're one of my international listeners, the great state of Texas became the 21st state to pass constitutional carry. What that means is we don't need permission from the government anymore, do we?
I think it goes through September 1st officially. There's always a delay on this stuff. But, you know, ready for blood in the streets, every traffic stop to turn into, or a traffic argument to turn into a gunfight. And I'm trying to think of what other... Oh, I can't cuss. I was going to say something very bad. What other crap people are going to put out there and the media is going to put out there about the frenzy that's going to happen, except for we're the 21st state.
We're the 21st state.
And 20 times before us, they've said the same stuff, and it just hasn't happened.
People will be shooting each other over parking spaces, right?
I got to admit, when I was a young, wanted to be a police officer and Marine and stuff, I really thought people should take a bunch of training and get stuff done and make sure that they knew what they were doing, because I came from a very limited perspective at first, the law enforcement perspective, and how badly law enforcement failed a lot of their gunfights. And then, you know, more and more states started passing all this stuff, and we see all these civilians getting in gunfights, and you know what? They're doing fine. And the amount of... Well, there was one study out of Florida that said that law enforcement commits crimes at a higher rate than actual CHL carriers do, concealed handgun carriers, in Florida at least. You know, it was a limited study and all that, but, you know, it's something to look at. So, well, imagine that. You know, when you let good guys do things, they do what good guys do. If you're a good guy, you don't commit crimes, you don't hurt people, except for you to defend yourself. Imagine that. Whether you carry a gun or not, and you're a good person, you still do what good people do.
Good guys producing good guy results.
Yeah, and if you're a bad guy, it doesn't matter what the law is, you're going to do what bad guys do. You know, you got England as our look to see, you know, get rid of all the guns, and then all of a sudden knives were this huge issue, and now they're trying to get rid of all the knives too. And, you know, bad guys do what bad guys do. They're criminals, hence the definition, criminal.
Yep. By the way, this is coming out on Father's Day. Ben, happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day to you, and a newer father you are now.
Yes, relatively, yeah. Some stepchildren, I shouldn't call them adopted, some stepchildren. So anyway, getting back to constitutional carry, yeah, we're the 21st state. The other 20 states, they don't seem to have a whole lot of problems, do they?
Not that I know of. I mean, the first two were Vermont and Alaska. You had very, very different things to look at there.
Different demographics.
Vermont is a city compared to Texas. It's not even a big city in Texas, or California.
It's a large county.
Stuff. I don't even think it's a large county by
maybe not
population and by landmass. And then Alaska was this kind of weird thing on its own because there's so few people out there and so big an area, vast an area. But then we had other states that started to do it, and it just hasn't been a problem yet.
No, it hasn't been an issue. Now, Texas is the most populated state to pass constitutional carry, but I don't think that's going to make any difference at all. And for people who may not know, constitutional carry, at least the way the law is written here in Texas, if you're 21 years of age and you're not a convicted felon or otherwise prohibited from owning and carrying a gun, you can, starting September 1st, carry a gun with no permit, only in the state of Texas.
Which is good. But I also heard that the legislator, hopefully they signed it, was going to make it a zero cost to get a concealed carry license here in Texas.
Well, that's great. Now, let's talk about a concealed carry license here in Texas. I've had one since a few months after I moved to Texas, way back when. And I'm going to continue to renew mine. And for a couple of reasons. The most important reason for me to renew my Texas license to carry is my reciprocity. We have reciprocity with, I think, 33 or 34 states.
Which is great. I go to states that don't have it, which is a pain in the butt. But I do go to other states, like I ended up in Arizona more than once, and they have constitutional carry. So I didn't really need my license there. So 20 states, you don't need to go. Actually, got to check all those states' laws, because a couple of them, I think, there's one or two that say you have to be a resident of the state to actually carry.
Yeah, handgunlaw.us. Keep checking that. I've had the owner of that site on this podcast a couple of times, handgunlaw.us. I'll give him a free advertising plug here.
He does an amazing amount of work to keep up that site, and it's the best one out there that's actually kept up to date. There's all these books that come out, and there's a lot of stuff that's out there that's really was good when it was written.
Yeah.
But laws change every single year, everywhere. So you gotta keep up.
So the main reason I'm going to keep my LTC is reciprocity. But the other reason, which Texas is kind of a unique state, there's maybe a few others, it's so much easier to buy a gun when you have an LTC.
Yeah, I don't know how many states it is, but there's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
When you have your license to carry, or your concealed handgun license, or your CCW, whatever your state calls it.
Whatever the name is.
You don't have to go through the NICS background check. You present yours, and that counts as your background check.
Oh my God, we're terrible. No background checks, right? Oh gosh.
We had to do 10 times as much background check to get an LTC as you do to just buy a firearm.
Yeah.
So,
well, you used to work in a gun shop, so how extensive is that NICS check compared to what they check us out to give us an LTC?
The NICS check, and in case you didn't know this, is just runs you against a database of people that are known to the FBI to be prohibited persons from owning a firearm.
That's it.
That is it. You are either on the list or you're not. And it should be that easy, but then there's same and similar. That's why we have delays, and they have to do research and all this other crap. And so if you go to buy a gun and you get delayed and you have to come back to get your gun, it's because there's some idiot out there with the same or like name as you and social security number committing crimes.
Or because you have a problem you didn't say anything about.
Well, that too. But apparently the NICS check doesn't really work. Is that a big surprise to anybody? One of the last major shootings we had with the Air Force guy should have been prohibited. Air Force didn't bother to update their records with the FBI when they ran him out of the Air Force as a felon, and he went and bought a gun and killed a bunch of people.
Now, I have a theory, and I want you to tell me if I'm full of baloney or if I'm not full of baloney.
Only half the time.
Yeah, only half the time. Not to be a conspiracy theorist. Excuse me. I think part of the reason for the NICS check is so they can find out who's buying what gun and how many.
Well, it's supposed to be in the law. I say supposed to be in the law that those records are destroyed right after they came in there. And I saw Bob roll his eyes because when the NICS first started, the FBI decided, even against the law, that they were going to keep those records. And then, I forget who sued. I wish I knew the group and I would give them props. Sued the FBI for keeping that. And the FBI said, okay, we'll destroy it. Whether it was destroyed or not, government conspiracies, all that crap. If it really goes away once it's digital, I don't know. But I do know that despite the law, because the law has always been since Nick started, that the records were going to be destroyed afterwards. And the FBI just said, this is why law enforcement has a freaking problem in America. Because even though the law said we're supposed to destroy it, the FBI decided, nah, I think we'll keep it. And they kept it until they got sued. So, yeah, all you guys law enforcement out there, I love you guys on the bottom end. You guys that are out there beating the streets, answering the radio, going after the true bad guys, getting in there and mixing it up. So much respect for you guys. You guys are awesome.
Yeah,
your boss's
too.
boss's boss, I'd like to punch half of them in the nose.
I share the same respect for the people that are out on the streets in law enforcement. You don't get paid enough for what you do. You're doing, these days, probably one of the toughest jobs that you could ever ask to do, and it's terrible. I back the blue, you back the blue, right? And
cop on the street, I got you.
Yeah,
you might help, let me know, I'll help you out.
We support you. Somehow, Ben, I don't think it would be too difficult to figure out that the FBI is not destroying those records.
I don't know, it'd probably take a Freedom of Information Act.
Yeah.
And I hope some of those companies, some of the people that are helping us are doing their due diligence.
Yeah.
But with NRA kind of going defunct and having all their problems, they ain't helping us anymore.
No, so let's get off my conspiracy theory. So back to constitutional carry. I think it's really cool. I support it. I know that here in this state, in Texas, maybe many other states, there are probably a lot of concealed carry instructors, which I used to be one, that aren't so happy. Some of them that were doing well, making a lot of money, licensing people to carry. They're probably going to lose some business over it.
Yes, they are. And they're going to have to do something else. They're going to have to be good at their craft. I have a friend at work at my new job. She actually found out that I'm a shooter and stuff, and she asked me if I could help her. And she failed her LTC class. And I was like, well, who was your instructor? Where were they? Because I wanted to know who it was, because I was going to go, what the heck? I boast, not because of me, but because how easy the test is. Yeah. I could take somebody that's never fired a gun before, and during the test, coach them enough to get through to pass the test.
I was just going to say,
just that easy.
If somebody failed the shooting test, that's kind of hard to do.
Well, the instructor, she was only in 3 people in the class. The instructor didn't help her, give her anything else. She went through the whole test, all 50 rounds in whatever it is, 6 or 7 stages, 8 stages of fire, because it's 6 rounds apiece. So you can do the math on that. And the instructor goes, well, you failed. You'll have to try again later. Come back when you're ready. That was the quote from her. And I'm like, what the heck? So,
what kind of an instructor is that?
That's the one that's now out of business as a CHL instructor. But that's also the CHL instructors. Back when Arizona went constitutional carry, the CHL instructors in Arizona got together and tried to fight the law tooth and nail, and it was all about money. That's all it was. And then somebody did a follow-up study on Arizona, and after the license went away, after a couple years, training actually went up. More people were getting training after the license went away than before.
Interesting.
I think it's really that people see that here's the government minimum standard. All I have to do is meet that, and I'm good enough. And then they don't want to do anything else because I'm good enough. But then when you go to a real instructor and you go, I don't know how to use this thing, I'll go find an instructor, and you find an instructor like Bob or myself or a bunch of other. We could go down the list of people we know personally that are just awesome instructors. A new person goes to shoot with them and figures out, I don't know snot.
Yeah.
I better come back and do this a couple more times to figure this thing out so that I don't shoot myself, I don't shoot my family, I'm not a danger to myself, I'm only a danger to the bad guys. And for you guys that don't listen to my show, I define a bad guy as somebody that's actively trying to illegally kill or maim somebody else.
And for those of you who don't listen to Ben's show, you should be listening. Go subscribe there right now, modernselfprotection.com. Speaking of some of the other instructors, I want to give some free advertising because I've taken their classes, and they're outstanding.